throughout our lives, we're constantly passing from one stage of mastery to another. And most of the time it happens just kind of automatically. It just happens by accident. This is stuff that we don't really try to make happen. We're not participating in an intentional process. We're just kind of letting it happen. It just happens out accidentally. So when you started driving a car, if you're a car driver, then it started out with you wanted some freedom. You're young, you want some freedom. You want to get out on the road. You want to go to the grocery store and buy your own Coke. Dang it. You want some freedom. And so you get in the car and you start just driving, and you probably put your life in danger a few times by driving without enough practice. And eventually you live through it, and we all lived through it. So we're all still here. And eventually you gained practice. You got better and better and better over time. And but I doubt that any of us actually thought about, okay, today I am only aware of that light that's on the dashboard of my car. And then tomorrow I'm going to intentionally classify that button or that light in comparison to its other lights. You're not going through that kind of academic process about the thing that you're learning, which is fine. That's natural. In fact, it'd be kind of weird. You wouldn't have any friends if you were going around analyzing things to that level. But I do want to point out a few things here that are maybe worth thinking about. And there might be something to this being intentional about seeking mastery, about pursuing mastery. So awareness is one level of mastery. There are lots and lots of levels of mastery, but awareness is just one of those levels, or one of those parts or dimensions of mastery. But awareness is very, very low on the totem pole. It's very low on the level of skill, the level of mastery, because anybody can be aware. Were you aware that that I was born in 1978? You didn't know that until just now. Now you have awareness of my year. Everybody, at the count of three, say my birth year. 1, 2, 3. Nobody did it.
I'm not good at math.
I just told you what it was.
1978.
Okay, so even then awareness wasn't working for you. 1978. I'm old. In fact, Friday's my birthday, so I'm going to be another year older. Yeah.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. Asante sana. So awareness, we stop at awareness often. Where's a time in our daily walk as developers that we stop at awareness and we're quite happy with it? Anybody have any ideas? It's confession time.
I'm sorry, Byron. I got distracted. My wife just called me. I didn't hear you and your question. Will you repeat that?
Yes, absolutely, because it's a good one. All right. In our daily walk as developers, there are times when we stop at awareness and we are quite happy with it. We don't try to dive deeper and get more than just awareness. Where's an example of that? Super common for developers, especially developers that don't know much about Linux.
Probably DevOps.
Let's see. You guys walked on each other. Nick, go first.
I would like to contribute on that. Sometimes, let's say you are stuck on a problem that, let's say, it's not your area of specialty, and maybe you have to Google for a solution to that on Stack Overflow, and you don't get into the deeper details of the solution or the workings of the application you're working on. but
Yeah.
we just get it right and apply that.
Yeah. So we're troubleshooting something, and it's blocking us. We need to move on. And so we're looking at every single blog we can find. Sometimes we look at the same blog 5 times by accident, and then we realize that we're going around in circles. Yeah. We very happily go around in circles till we find the problem, and then we finally get an error message to change, and then we're like, yes, progress. Okay, Jose, what were you saying?
You mean Jose or Jorge?
Jorge. I'm saying.
It was me, Byron, not
It was
Jose.
Jorge. Sorry about that. You both
Yeah.
have low voices. Low voices. What were you saying, Jorge?
So I would say something like DevOps, you know,
Get more
Because-
specific.
like
Possibly on a daily basis, you're doing this, stopping at awareness.
yeah. Sometimes we as developers know how to write code for applications, but maybe something is not working, and the one who's gonna solve that issue maybe is a DevOps guy.
All right.
You know,
Right.
and probably you are aware that there's an issue at maybe infrastructure solutions, whatever level, and you don't want to get to that point, and you just stick to your code.
Okay. Fair enough. Neither of you guys said the thing I was thinking of, but both of you guys mentioned things that are totally valid. What I was thinking of was the command line things in Linux that we copy and paste without knowing what the flags are. We're happy, blissfully ignorant of what all those flags mean. To me, is like the typical canonical example of just being happy with awareness. So okay, yeah. Obviously, it would be better if we had mastery of those things. Sometimes we don't have the luxury of seeking mastery or we think we don't, because we're on a mission. We've got to get this thing fixed. We're already frustrated. People are knocking on our door. We've got to get this stuff finished. So I get that. So here's what I want to do to challenge us, because I think that we can get better at this. And it has to do with what we're looking at here on the screen. So this Bloom's taxonomy is made by a guy named Bloom. His last name is Bloom. And he was an education specialist, PhD. And he wanted to give people a way to classify levels of mastery in a way that was really repeatable and usable, and that could also be like what they've given us here is kind of like a list of verbs for each one of these things that just helps us to get a little bit more understanding of what each one of these means, or what we can do with in each level. So I put awareness in the remember kind of section. It actually might even be lower than just remember, because awareness it requires almost no brain power at all, 0 brain cycles. Even though I just told you guys 1978 nobody remembered, but still it's likely that you can be aware of all kinds of things without actually remembering the specific thing. Like you may not remember all of the Agile principles, but you're aware that there are Agile principles. And that awareness can get you quite a ways. You can go quite a ways down the road in Agile without actually having the Agile principles memorized, because we can just Google them. That's what awareness gives us. And so in a way, Google and the ability to just search for things gives us the permission, the authorization to stop at awareness. And, but if we can gain, my phone started answering because I think I said Google. So if we can allow ourselves to go a little bit deeper, then we might open up some doors. For instance, if you had more of a command of the Agile principles beyond just awareness that they exist, but actually maybe you've got them memorized, you can remember them, you understand them, you can do things like you can classify different situations by their agile principle. You can describe each agile principle in detail. You can discuss them, you can explain them, you can identify situations where the agile principles apply. You can locate, I don't know. So understanding is just a little bit deeper into the levels of mastery. Application is where a lot of us really want to strive. We want to be able to apply what we have learned, and we treat apply as if it's the pinnacle of mastery. Once we can apply it, then that's when we can stop learning. And it's not bad. It's way better than just remembering or awareness, but applying something is executing on it, actually doing something with that knowledge of those agile principles, implementing a system based on an agile principle, solving a problem using the agile principles, using something, demonstrating, interpreting, operating. So applying is definitely great, but it's definitely not a stopping point either. What if we were to be able to go one step deeper down the rabbit hole, analyze, being able to differentiate between one situation or another? So if anybody works with Tommy Norman is an absolute agile expert. You may, if you have the pleasure of working with him, you may never meet somebody as capable and masterful as Tommy Norman when it comes to agile. And so, but if you think about it, when we're getting into the analysis phase or level of mastery, differentiate. That's something that you can look to Tommy for. Tommy is somebody that can differentiate between this solution as a non-agile solution and this solution as an agile solution. He can see the differences. Organizing a body of data based on agile principles, relating it from one thing to another thing, one context to another context, comparing, contrasting, distinguishing, examining, experimenting, and then evaluating the results, questioning it even. Okay, then get into evaluate. Evaluating is we're starting to get into like collegiate or university level academic ability, capability. So we can appraise the value of this agile principle. We can argue, we can debate, we can defend it from somebody that doesn't believe in it. We can judge whether somebody's solution is right or wrong. We can I've never understood why select is in there, but we can support it with more arguments. We can value it, we can critique, we can weigh. And then at the very top of this pyramid, and there might even be, I imagine this is kind of one of those things where it's infinite. There's no stopping the levels of mastery that you could attain. But at the top of this particular pyramid is create. So that's getting into like, the agile principles so well that now you have ascended above even the agile principles. And now you can create your own set of principles that maybe even supersede the agile principles. You could assemble your own system that does the same things or better than agile principles. You can construct something out of the agile principles. You can conjecture, wondering, what if I do this? What if I do that? You can develop, you can formulate, author, investigate, innovate. This is where a lot of us are with driving a car. Probably it's where you no longer think about driving. It's an extension of you. You have now innovated, designed new ways of driving. Instead of your hands at 10 and 2, now you can do one hand and you can drive any way you want to now, because it's like you're in you're in re. You've passed from shu to ha to re, and now you drive any way you want to, because you can develop your own. You have constructed your own way of driving. So, okay, that's a description of Bloom's taxonomy. Now, how do we walk from the bottom to the top? Now, let's take something that we often leave aside, DevOps. So for a lot of developers, DevOps is one of the last things that we learn, because especially if you work on a team in a company where there is a DevOps team, there's a team of people that they kind of do that for you. That's their specialty. They're really good at it. Let them deal with all the scripting. Let them deal with the CI/CD server and all of the silly Linux flags. We code, we write software. Let them deal with it. So now, not all of us have that luxury, and so like Nick, for instance, might kind of be forced to do some of his own DevOps kinds of things, and so he's having to learn it on his own. JR, quite possibly, is having to learn his own kinds of DevOps stuff, and he doesn't have the luxury of just stopping in awareness. All right, so let's imagine that in order to really do our jobs well, we need to have a higher level of mastery. Can one of you guys pick a level on the pyramid that would be reasonable for you, a reasonable level of mastery for you to have in DevOps, for you to be able to do a really great job in your project? Pick a level that you think would be reasonable and acceptable for you to do a really great job in your project when it comes to DevOps. And imagine that there is no DevOps team. You're it. No plan B.
Probably analyze.
So you're going to go for analyze. So you want to be able to. Can you use one of those words off to the side to kind of tell me more or less describe how you need to be able to do DevOps?
Experiment.
Okay. So you need to be able to experiment with different things in DevOps and be able to analyze the results.
Yep.
Okay. Test. You need to be able to possibly test your theories about DevOps. I think that if I add this job to CI/CD, that it will produce this artifact. Maybe organize. I need to be able to organize the CI pipeline so that there is a build step and a test step and a lint step and so on and so forth, so that CI is completely organized and complete. Compare, contrast, maybe.
Examine.
What's that?
Examine.
Examine.
Yeah.
You need to be able to examine the CI/CD pipeline when it's failing to understand what you need to fix so that you can move on. I agree. I think that's probably a good place to stop, because if we had stopped at apply, then maybe that's not enough of a level of mastery to really be able to get yourself out of a bind. I mean, you could eventually figure it out. I mean, you would don't get me wrong. I'm going to give you a way tonight to be intentional about this, about stepping through this process. But if you don't do what we're going to talk about, it will still happen. My point is that it's going to happen faster if you do it intentionally. So either way, you're going to be fine. But the whole one of the main ideas behind Dev Amplifier is that we are supercharging your growth. You're going to grow either way. It's just going to take you a lot longer if it's not intentional.
Fell fast.
So let's go from awareness, which is remember, is like way before remember, all the way up to an analyze, all the way to an analyze. My Spanish gets in the way sometimes. Analysis. So analyze. So we're at awareness. What I'm suggesting to you is that you walk this pyramid step by step and challenge yourself over a day or 2 days or a week, each day, to be able to intentionally walk from remember to understand, to apply, to analyze in different aspects of DevOps. And so if there's some end goal that you need to be able to do, which is maybe stand up a CI/CD pipeline for your side project, or it may be solve a problem that's been persisting over the past several weeks and nobody's fixed it, but it's not been a big enough a deal to cause anybody to stop working. So that might be a goal. So you've got this thing you want to do with knowledge. You need that. You need your goal in place. And that goal, you can, if also your goal of mastery is analyze, then you put those two together so that you're targeting not only a tangible thing that you can produce or do, but you're also pairing it with a level of mastery that you want to achieve. Then start back to where you are. So we've got our A, we've got our B, B being where we want to go. A is where we are. And maybe we only have awareness right now. So now, how can we go from absolute zero or just awareness? I am aware that DevOps exists. I'm aware that there are scripts somewhere. There's a CI/CD server somewhere. How could I start at the remember phase to take one step in the direction of mastery? Think about the verbs. Got remember, define, duplicate, list, memorize, repeat, state. Anybody have any ideas of a way that we could use this remember phase to take one baby step in the direction of mastery?
Bitbucket.
Say it again.
Bitbucket or GitLab, or I mean,
Now-
I'm just talking about Python tools.
Now that's a tool. I guess you're going to need an account. Yeah. You'll need to, if you're going to do a side project, you need to pick a project and pick a platform. But how can we use the remember phase to challenge ourselves to grow one step? Remember, define.
Wouldn't it be define what DevOps is to begin with?
You could start by defining what DevOps is. If you ask somebody that really understands DevOps, that they are analyzing, evaluating, creating in the DevOps space, then they will often be very quick to say that DevOps is not a role. It's not a position. It's not a department. So at Eklund Avenue, we've been doing it wrong according to the DevOps purists, because there is no such thing as a DevOps department. So yeah, I agree. I mean, looking into, trying to get to the point where you're moving from just awareness, DevOps is something, to being able to define what it is in the first place. Yeah, that's good. Maybe doing a little bit of research into what do people say DevOps is. What could we list? If you're working with like Bitbucket or GitHub Actions, GitLab, CI/CD.
Probably I can list the steps I'm gonna need for my process to be successful. Like,
All right.
for example, list my dependencies first and then come up with something else.
All right. I like it. Some bullet lists. What about the job types? If you're using GitHub Actions or GitHub Actions is what I've been using lately. So if you're using GitHub Actions, you got a lot of different types of jobs that you can run. I can't remember what they are right now, but there's different types. There's different commands that you can run. There are pre-made actions that you can use, that you can reuse. So that's something you could list. You could list the environment variables that are available to you. You could list, I don't know. What about memorize? Is there anything worth memorizing that would help you in the future?
Well, memorizing the commands you're gonna use. I know it's Linux, but sometimes you need some special CLI. For example, if you're doing AWS, you need to do a CLI. If you're doing Heroku, it's the CLI as well. So in the end, it's just memorizing the commands you need, probably just to start with.
Maybe memorize a few bash commands.
Mhm.
Memorize a little bit of YAML structure, YAML syntax. All right. So fast forward 2 or 3 days, however long you're trying to give yourself. Now we're into the understand phase. So let's take a step intentionally into understand. If we try to take a leap into analyze, what's going to happen? If we just try to jump right from remember into analyze and start asking ourselves to be able to do the kinds of things in analyze that that we really need to eventually.
You miss a lot of pieces,
You could
a
miss
lot
some
of
pieces.
gaps.
Yeah, I agree. Does that ever happen to us?
Yeah.
I think it happens all
All
the time. Yeah. I mean, this happens especially when we are like trying to lightning round learn stuff. We're learning a new library, a new framework, a new paradigm, a new pattern, and we typically jump to the end and start implementing it because we need to get results, and we skip steps. So we are asking ourselves to produce at levels of mastery that we're not ready for. And so just I thought I would throw that out there. It's interesting that happens a lot, and we do miss steps. Over time, we start to fill in those gaps. But that's why we get a year into something, and then we hear somebody talking about something that we should know about, because we've been using the thing for months, and everybody knows we've been using the thing for months. And then they start talking about it with vocabulary that we weren't aware of. And then we start to feel this thing called imposter syndrome. So if you think about it, in a lot of ways, we inflict ourselves with this thing called imposter syndrome because we are constantly skipping steps, leaving gaping holes in our understanding and our mastery. So you might have gone straight from awareness up to analyze, and you're doing things that are solving problems, but you don't understand it. You don't remember why you did anything. You can't apply it again the same way. So it can be valuable to walk through these steps. Okay, let's talk about understand. DevOps. Can anybody think of a reason why classifying something might help in DevOps?
Yeah, for example, if you're deploying an application, maybe it's not gonna be the same thing if you deploy a backend application or a front end application or maybe a mobile application. So you need to classify first the type of application that you're trying to deploy, because you can't deploy just your regular React app as you would deploy your C# ASP.NET or something like that.
That's good. I agree. What about the difference between continuous integration and continuous deployment? Might it be useful sometimes to classify those jobs by their type? This is continuous integration. This is continuous integration. This is deployment. So that's going over to the CD side. So keeping a separation between your jobs. Being able to discuss the finer points or just the philosophy behind something, or the reason why you chose this tool over this tool, or being able to discuss a job just being able to discuss the commands that you used. Hey, this is why I did it this way. Identifying the usefulness of this job and this job. Recognizing when I don't know, when a job fails. Being able to report on all of that. Give a report back to your Scrum Master. Hey, we're not able to deploy yet because of this and this. Translate is sometimes in languages, but it's sometimes in concepts. So translating is an interesting one because there are times when we technologists need to be able to translate a technical problem to a business person. So imagine trying to describe or translate a DevOps issue or something that you want to be able to do with DevOps that you need permission to start building because it's going to take a few days and you're not going to be able to build features while you're doing this. So being able to translate the benefits of something that you want to do into business terms is a pretty useful skill. All right, imagine that we have stepped from remember into understand. We've been able to cook on that for a few days. Now we're moving up into the apply. So 2 or 3 days later, we're moving up into the apply phase of mastery. At this point, we're executing. We're able to come up with brand new jobs. Somebody's like, hey, why are we doing all of this NPM auditing manually? We should be doing it automatically so that it happens every time there's a pull request. We should be doing an NPM audit fix every single time there's a push to master or whatever. And you can execute on that. So you can add a job. Implementing a new type of job that's never existed, or implementing a delivery kind of job where you previously only had CI. Solving issues when they arise. Demonstrating to others why you should do this thing in CI/CD. How about let's see. Okay, interpreting which jobs and which job types should be run on which branches. So if you couldn't have done that at the remember phase, at that point we're just kind of like we're almost, we're just stupid. We're just remembering things. Before that we were just aware, oh yeah, there's DevOps somewhere around there. But if at this point now you've gone from remember into understand, and now you're able to apply it and you can interpret the validity of something. And this is only 9 days away. We've only been doing this for 9 days. And we're not even taking courses at this point. We're really just like forcing ourselves to look around and notice things. We're working in it on our own. We're just trying things. All right. So now 2 or 3 days later, fast forward. Now we're moving into analyze. Now we're going to ask ourselves to do the kinds of things that we might have been tempted to ask ourselves to do 12 days ago. We're ready to differentiate between somebody give me an example of differentiate. Now this is getting into some advanced thinking. So put your thinking caps on. Differentiate.
Differentiate the use between Jenkins and GitHub Actions.
Could be. Yeah. And in fact, that might be another way to translate or interpret, is if you were to interpret between two different types of two different CI/CD systems and being able to like port almost. So you got one syntax over here and another syntax, and we can just kind of move things. But yeah. Organizing. I gave you all an example a few minutes ago of organizing, being able to organize an entire CD pipeline, CI/CD pipeline, relating. I can relate the I can tell my brain is starting to slow down. Okay. I can relate the benefits of this CI/CD pipeline to another development team's context. I can say, hey, I'm seeing the problems that you're having. I can analyze the problems that you're having. When I do that, I see that the same way that we solved some problems with CI/CD, you could probably incorporate into your team. I can relate things. Compare. I can compare Jenkins to GitLab CI/CD. I can compare the benefits, the Circle CI. I can clearly see that GitHub Actions is way better than Circle CI, because Circle CI is missing the blah, 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 blah. So I can compare and contrast different options. I can distinguish, examine, experiment. So let's talk about experiment. So on the analysis level, I might believe that in order to speed up my pipeline, right now it's taking about 10 minutes per build and deployment. And that's just way too long. It needs to be closer to 5 minutes. And if I analyze and I start to really unpack the jobs, I can see that they are slowing down because every job is doing an NPM install. And it takes 3.5 minutes for every NPM install. And if I could cut that down on all the CI level jobs, then I believe that the time to run the pipeline would be cut way down drastically. It would only do one NPM install at the very beginning, and I could cache it somehow. All right, so now I'm experimenting. I believe I have an experiment. I have a theory. I believe something's going to happen. I'm going to run my experiment, see the results. Lo and behold, I was right. The CI/CD pipeline ran way faster. I can question my experiment results when I see that it only cut down my build time by 2 minutes. I was expecting a big win with 7 minutes. It only did 2 minutes. Now I can question those results and figure out why. I can test things. I can test my theories. So analysis is big, and it's a very important thing. Why stop at analysis? Maybe we can start going into evaluate. Maybe we can get deeper and deeper. Maybe that's where, have you ever heard of T-shaped developers, where you've got a developer that you may be a T-shaped developer yourself, where you've got a very wide breadth of abilities, but you have a very deep specialization. And that's why they say T, because it's you're if you look at your skills on a graph, then your skills are wide, like all kinds of different things, but then you've got one section of your skills that are very deep, very deep. And so that's saying that T shape, that T, that the stick going down on the T is dipping closer into analysis and evaluation and creation. So what you guys have now is a framework that you can use to gain mastery that you could try immediately. Now that's not exactly the quest for this week, but it is it's something that you should keep in your back pocket, because this is the kind of thing that you're going to need. You're going to need to be able to gain mastery and faster, because it just takes too long. It takes way too long to just let it happen by chance. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all. Just like we were talking about, you might skip some steps. You end up with big gaps, imposter syndrome. Then you become a manager. You just give up. Okay, I'll become a manager. Nobody ever laughs at that joke though. Maybe it's not that. Yeah, I don't think that becoming a manager is an upgrade. You have to stop coding basically. So that would suck. Let's not do that. All right. So the quest for this week is it's called low hanging fruit. Why is low hanging fruit good?
You said low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit. What's bad about high hanging fruit?
If I climb the
It's
tree, I might fall.
It's hard to get.
Yeah, but I'm gonna gain so much skills if I climb the tree.
If climbing trees is the skill you want, yes. But low, if you're hungry and you want a piece of fruit, low hanging fruit is great because it's just right there. It's right there in front of you. All right, so that's the task for this week is for you to find this low hanging fruit. So each day I want you to find one thing that you use or do on a regular basis and take 30 to 60 minutes to research it, practice it, and gain some mastery of it. If you'd like, you can use the method that I taught you tonight. If you have another way that you want to do, then go for that. But the idea is to pick something every single day, just one thing that is that if you could have some more mastery of this thing, that it would make your job easier. It would make you more efficient. It would make you a better user of a framework or a library. So the challenge is just 30 to 60 minutes. This is not the kind of thing that it's going to get in the way of your job, because your job is using what you're already using. So you should be able to, without any problem of conscience, be able to throw an extra 20, 30, 40 minutes of getting deeper into it. And each day I want you to find one thing that needs some extra attention. So if you're using, for instance, Vue, and you're using Vuex as your store, and you don't really know much about Vuex, but you're using it. You're just kind of using it because there was the example, and you've been using it the way the example gave it, and you're copying, pasting everything. So that would be a good opportunity, a good example of what you could pick for that day. And I don't know what it looks like. Maybe you're at the understand phase of mastery. You understand how to copy paste it. You understand more or less how it works, but you couldn't write it from scratch. So come up with a way, read the documentation to get a little bit closer to apply. Just find something that you can take a step in the right direction. So as you're doing that, keep notes each day of whatever that thing was, and then how you gained mastery. And that's what you would put into the results survey that should now come 5 days after. So when you fill out this link that says here, please sign up for this quest before starting. When you click on that and you fill out that form, it's just a quick text box. It's like expectations. What do you expect to happen? Do you expect to come out of this week with no more mastery than you had before? Or do you expect to be able to use your tools better after this week? Whatever the expectation is, that's the idea there. Once you fill out that form, it starts a timer. 5 days later, that's when it should send the automatic form to get your results. And that's where you would hopefully be able to just paste in what you have been collecting throughout the week. Questions? Everybody good? Everybody awake?
Yep.
All right. What time is it, Nick?
Right now it's 5 minutes to 7. I have not adjusted my time yet.
So it's almost 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That's better than it was before, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It was bad before. I for some reason I think I remember having to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So
yeah, like four. Let's say 4.
Yeah, 4. And then Chuck Woody's another guy that was having to get up super early. Always felt bad, but also I'm very impressed. Always impressed that that you guys don't mind getting up and participating in your own growth. So that's good.
Sure.
All right. I will drop this link in the Slack channel so that you guys can see the Bloom's taxonomy in case that's useful for you. Of course, if you search for it, you'll find all kinds of websites that talk about Bloom's taxonomy. It's very, very useful. It's more commonly talked about in education circles, but you know, that's kind of what we're doing too, is we're talking about educating ourselves, gaining mastery.